up for a second. Just from Dalton Public Schools, we want to say how much we appreciate what you have meant to our community in the past, but even more so, your willingness to take on this new role and what you're going to do for our community and our schools in the future. We want to thank you for that. So everyone, let's show them how much we appreciate. Previous board members, I know I saw, did they not make it in? Mr. Orr, they did, they learn very quickly. When they have the opportunity, they get out. I know, but we're still under the 6:30. We can't start till 6:30, so we're okay. We have another minute and 40 seconds. But we do want to tell you how much we appreciate everything that you're going to be doing. Thank you. How's that? Let's wait a minute. Let's go back. Your watch. Yours is the official, legal, nuclear watch.
Okay, good evening, and we'll call our regularly scheduled monthly meeting here in January. We'll call it to order. I'll welcome you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting Dalton Public Schools and our mission and what we're about. We're looking forward to a great year in 2018. I'll invite you all to stand with me and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So we have our agenda that we will review, make any adjustments as necessary for tonight's meeting. So we have a motion to remove two action items about the tax allocation district and the Dalton High School softball field bids. That's a motion. Do we have a second? Have a second from Mr. Johnson. So this will be a motion. The motion that's been made and seconded is to remove two action items, the tax allocation district and the softball fields. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye. Any opposed? So that amendment passes unanimously. So now we have an amended agenda that we need to approve. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Mr. Johnson makes the motion to approve the agenda as amended. Do I have a second? I have a second from Dr. Perez. So with a motion made and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? So the agenda passes unanimously and is approved. So now we'll move to the appearances. Mr. Amonette and I will conduct that portion.
What we'd like to do tonight is to recognize and honor some of our partners with working with our schools. This is our faith-based partners, and we have several who have been working in a variety of ways with our schools. So at this point, I'd like to ask you, Trevor, to come and share a little about the different churches that we have and what types of things they're doing. And as he does so, some of the representatives of the church, please come up and we have something to recognize. Thank you.
Yeah, so tonight the Board of Education is going to recognize our faith-based partners and what they do in their hard and dedicated work to support our schools, our staff, and the students and our families. And this is absolutely exciting. I know, what is the, Ms. Orr, what's the title of the book that you want me to read? Schools Can't Do It Alone, this is a great testimony to what we want to do as a city, what we want to do as a community for our students is that students can't do it alone, and that we want to work together as a community to enable and ensure the best possible outcomes for all of our students. And so our faith-based partners are a key component of that, and a key component, especially as we talk about helping kids who are in poverty. So this is incredible to have this representation here of all these different churches. So we'll just call them out, and I'll ask you to hold your applause until we're finished. But first we start with Christ Church Presbyterian, that works with both City Park and Park Creek. Dalton First Baptist, which is with Westwood and the Morris Innovative newcomers. And Dalton First United Methodist Church, which works with Westwood, Brookwood, and City Park. First Presbyterian Church and their work with Blue Ridge Elementary. And Grace Presbyterian Church and their work with the Morris Innovative High School newcomers and with City Park. Rockbridge Community Church, their work with Rome School, Blue Ridge, and Morris Innovative newcomers. St. Joseph's Catholic Church and their work with Morris Innovative. And St. Mark's Episcopal Church, also with their work with the newcomers at Morris Innovative. Trinity United Methodist Church and their work with Park Creek. So, some examples of what our faith-based partners do. They provide the Saturday snack lunches for students on the weekend, those students that are food insecure. If they're not in school, they don't know where their next meal is coming from, whether they'll have one or not. So the Sack Pack, Saturday Sacks program helps with that. There's been donations of school supplies, food and other needed items have been given to children. Funding for classrooms, events, beautification projects, field trips are some other examples. Partners send in volunteers through Big Brothers and Big Sisters. We have buddy programs, mentorships, tutors, and just go into schools to read to students. So this is an outstanding example of what makes Dalton different, what makes Dalton great, and I think as we continue to work on maximizing partnerships like our representative behind me, it'll make our school district and our community a lot better. So if you join with me in thanking all of these faithful we'll turn it over to you for affirmation and learning.
The next item is Ms. Rogers, I can share with us, I want to be going on mathematics.
So I really just want to talk about football this evening, but I am going to talk about math. And it's going to be as fast as possible, but I want to share with you a component that we have been implementing in our district and that we're very proud of. Brandy Moore could not be with us this evening, but she and I prepared this presentation. So I want to start with our DPS math beliefs. These beliefs are critical to what we are doing with our work. And what I'd like to do is if each of you could look at the screen. If you can read one of them, I'll read the first one and somebody read the second until we've read through them all. Everyone can successfully understand math at higher levels.
Numeracy-rich communities are necessary.
Math is about connections, communicating, and exploring.
Math is about understanding, not understanding. In math, learning from mistakes is valuable and takes perseverance.
Questions about why and how we live in math.
Math is about engaging in creativity and making sense.
So you'll see these beliefs that arise in our work, particularly in number talks, as we talk about that. The Center for Disease Control, isn't it funny, we talk about math, we talk about something from the CDC. It's not because math is a disease, it's because math is one of the most preventative measures we can take in being a literate community. Numeracy is, I can't even tell you how important for students is. It's just as important as literacy. In fact, they go hand in hand. The definition, the ability to access, use, interpret, and communicate mathematical information and ideas to engage in and manage mathematical demands of a range of situations in adult life is the definition of numeracy. And when we look at that, we want to think very much about something that Dan Finkel says, that if we don't question the authority of numbers, then we fall prey to them. And so that's what we do not want to happen to our students. We want to make sure that they are literate in the area of numeracy. You'll see that best practices are prevalent in the area of math and in the work that we do. These are from the NCTM as well as from the definition that the CDC created. Make sense of problems and persevere and attend to precision. It's very important we have a right answer. We just might get a lot of different answers on the way to the right answer. And so we want to honor students' thinking. And so we're going to share with you a quick way of how we do that. The cornerstone of DPS math, the cornerstones that we have, are number talks, content, growth mindset, and numeracy. You can equate this in literacy to those things such as whole group inquiry, small group guided practice, the language of response, self-efficacy, differentiated independent practice. So we can meet students in different types of grouping as well as address a lot of our content standards both above and below through these components. The component we're talking about this evening is number talks, that strategic thinking routine for all students that we do each day. The facts of number talks are that it occurs daily, it's 10 to 12 minutes. They're intentional strings. They're using the properties to notate student thinking. The teacher records the student thinking in this part. And then all DPS teachers, K-8, have been trained in number talks, both by the author and in a job-embedded fashion, anywhere from 4 hours to 12 hours, depending on how long they've been with the district during this work. These are the language supports we have for our second language and our poverty students, but really they're best practices for all students. You'll hear in the clip that we're going to watch students say things such as, I agree with because, my strategy is like yours because, can you explain how? You'll hear all of these components in the clip because these are the ways that our students talk when they are working with numbers. So this is a clip of first graders at Rome School. This is Brianna Ridley, and we're going to watch just a little bit of her number talk.
All right, do I have anyone else that did it a different way, then? Okay, so what Mia did is that she took a number from the 6 and she made that 4 a 5, and then she knew that this 6 would become a 5, and she knew 5 and 5 made 10. All right, so have we decided our answer at 10? Ready for our next strand?
So what you'll notice that she did right there is she started with one basic fact. She had the students arrive at their answer, justify and defend. Then she'll build from that and show students how to use one fact to solve many problems.
All right, do I have anyone else that did it a different way, then? Okay, so what Mia did is that she took a number from the 6 and she made that 4 a 5, and then she knew that this 6 would become a 5, and she knew 5 and 5 made 10. All right, so have we decided our answer at 10? Ready for our next strand? Now, I'm going to leave this one up here at the top because it may can help us with some of our other problems. All right, our next one, ready? All right, when you think you know, your thumb goes on your chest. All right, Noah, what do you think? All right, we have a 14. Do we have any B2s? All right, do we have a different number? Anyone have a different number that they want to defend, or are we all good with 14? Okay. All right, tell me how we can defend the answer of 14. Noah, tell me how you got 14.
So this work comes from the expected fluency that we have at each grade level. So the teacher takes a problem that is known, 5 plus 5, and she shows students how to work through that. The problems are more difficult depending on what the class is studying and what grade level they are. They would tend to do 3 problems, and the theory and thinking on that is that if they can think about it, they can talk about it. If they can talk about it, they can write about it. And And it's just 10 to 12 minutes a day that they do the mental math. And the mental math is not something that they just do in their head. The important thing is they do it with their head, that they're thinking through and making sense of numbers. And so this is the expected fluency at each grade level that's met through our number talks work, as well as our other component with numeracy. And these are the standards that are addressed from K to 7. We also have some 8th grade standards as well, but we haven't fully fleshed those out as we're still training our middle school. And that is all. Thank you.
I had always been told that when I was in school that this is the way you get the answer. What I'm saying is that there will be no way someone has to get it. Is that what you're telling me?
Right.
That's not what my teacher told me 60-something years ago. They showed me the way, not lots. So you mean math does require thinking about different ways, not just this is the way to do it.
Right, and we do talk about efficiency, because this is the most efficient way to arrive at the answer, because a lot of kids will really enjoy telling you to draw 60 slashes so that they can add it up that way, and draw circles and use their fingers, and we'll begin to move them into what is this efficient way to arrive at the answer.
By looking at different ways students can try and come up, that way makes more sense to me than the way someone else has shown.
Right, and it relies heavily on the property, so it's a lot of getting students to think of what lives within a number. A 6 is not just a 6, it's a 4 plus 2, 2 plus 4, 3 plus 3. So it's the magnitude of the number.
And Don, I wanted to add also, as you can see, students are having to be able to talk and articulate more than we ever experienced as students ourselves about their learning and the way they're thinking about what they're learning. And so at the February work session, we hope to carry that a step further and see how that plays out in the assessments they're being asked to complete with their state assessments. So we'll tie that in.
It's a small component of a huge picture that we're doing with our math.
And we just want to say that the work that Malia is doing and Randy, now Malia has been doing this for several years now. Adding Randy has been a major plus. Not that she wasn't doing a great job, but it's allowed them to go and expand work even more to get more teachers who are in depth with the knowledge of this particular thing. So I want to say thank you for the work you're doing and adding those extra positions.
Yes, Malia, thank you. Working in our math literacy. The board's going to now move to take up our position behind me. We'll continue with our meeting. Okay, so we'll continue now with the rest of our agenda. We're now on superintendent information items.
First thing on that item I would like to show you is our announcements that we have. A few things to look at to make sure you're aware of over this coming month. We have been working diligently on our grade 6-7 school. Which is
No.
what else can you know about the grades initiative? How is that? Let's see. Someone is doing something else out. Now go. All right. We are closing on the 38.1 acres Thursday. So that's our first step in getting the property finalized. We've already gone through the process of commitment to purchase it, the donation acceptance and donate and purchase the property. This is the actual closing on the property where we're starting the process of the coming hours. Reminder, next Monday, and great if the ice had been next week instead of this week for our student days. But next Monday is a holiday, so we will not have a school day. If you're available Thursday, January 18th at 8:30, I invite you to go to Lone School. The Northwest Georgia RESA does and this is postponed, it's supposed to be done back before the Christmas holiday, but they have superintendents and others from all around the Northwest Georgia area who will be on the bus riding around to visit about 4 or 5 different sites. They'll be 8:30 that morning visiting Lone School's ILAB. So we'd like to invite any of you that are available to come over and join them as Rome School does a little presentation and shows them what's going on there. Okay? I would also like to invite you on Wednesday, January 24th, to come back here at lunchtime. That's our Geography B finals. Dr. Hackney's not here. She's out sick today. She's the one who works the most on that. But I am doing the school Bs at this point on the January 24th. That morning, 49 finalists from the schools will be at the annex. It will be narrowed down to 12 finalists, and then we'll come here at 12 o'clock to go through a final B to determine our district champion. This is our 5th year, I believe it is, of doing a district competition. The next item says Thursday, February 1st. That will be Wednesday, January 31st. We have confirmed that meeting time, January 31st at 5 o'clock. Right, Ms. Perry? So that was, so be sure, we'll send you notes about that, but go ahead and put that on your agenda. That is the date that we'll actually do the finalizing of the revenue bond. Board retreat, Friday, February 9th, 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. That's when we do our first step on beginning our budget, developing our budget for the next school year. And then, of course, we talked about the advanced ed. March 4th, that evening, will be sort of a get-together with the visitation team. And then on Monday after that, we'll be getting with you about times that you'll be coming in to do interviews with the accreditation visit, as usually. Okay? That's things upcoming during this next month. Next, we'd like to go into is to talk about our enrollment.
All right, so enrollment, we're down about 156 students compared to where we were a year ago. We're still seeing some movement with the holidays and students that left in December that have not come back yet, and other new students coming to us, so that's kind of an ongoing picture there. You can see that we're tracking still, kind of threading the gap between the green line and the I guess it's a darker purple line, but we have had a little bit of decline for this report, so we're continuing to monitor that and see how things go through the year.
At this point, we're hoping that there will be several more students come show up that would have showed up today from the holiday. So we're thinking we'll have some enrollment coming in there, we hope.
If you look at that churn chart, it's not really out of line with where we've been in past years right now. That number may change as we get to the end of this week, but that's not far off from where we've been. It's just we started the year with fewer students, so we've not picked up beyond where we've been.
We're still above where we were beginning, and the withdrawals at this past time were less than they have been the last 5 years. Any questions on enrollment? All right. Next item, we want to begin our budgeting process. Ms. Perry's going to come and share with you a little bit about our timeline that we want to do in developing our budget for next school year.
This is really a kind of past practice of where we've been at. We would have our board retreat in February, and we do a lot of future discussions at that time about our upcoming year and subsequent years. You talked about, strategic plans and goals. So board directives, budget directives, we've included in February, but if you need more time on that, it's not out of line for us to put that in March. School calendar, we've done it in February and March. A lot of outside agencies will be calling us as soon as we can possibly put forward our calendar. And then approve our tuition rate. Again, that's critical in February. And it really could be March. I didn't necessarily note that there, but it's critical as we get into pre-K registration and kindergarten registration, because there could be non-resident applicants in that process. In March, we could have a second draft of the budget. It really is dependent on information, particularly as our state gets into their legislative session. That can really drive a lot of information in our budget process. So we may do a special work session, or we can do it in April. It'll be your call. In April, we would approve compensation, salary, and wage schedules. If we're not making changes to that, then that doesn't have to be a separate action item. We would approve contract language for personnel and recognize the continuing personnel lists. And that one will be on the agenda in its large form in April, but it would be in smaller form in subsequent meetings. May, we would approve a tentative budget and tentative millage and advertise that. And then in June, you would have a final budget approval. Some newer things that have been added, we did this last year, is we actually are required to have 2 public hearings. So last year, we did it as part of a regular meeting. It's not an extra meeting. We did it in the April meeting and in the May meeting so that we had opportunity to hear from the public. They're always welcome to come to the board retreat and hear the budget and participate in your regular meetings or a special meeting on the budget and make comment at any time, but we do have public hearing requirements, so we've embedded that as part of the regular meeting. Then we would see a certified tax digest in August. And so, depending on how that looks, we may need to advertise public hearings. We certainly advertise the tax digest. But even if you're not having a change to the millage rate, if the digest grows for existing property owners due to reassessments, then we would be having public hearings if you're not going to roll back a millage rate. And then you really would set your final millage rate in September.
And going back on approving the school calendar, for many, for many years, that's been one of my responsibilities, working with that. Mindy Woods has graciously taken over that, and I know she's working on getting the committees together, so that's one thing that will be coming out soon. But one thing that at least at this point, we are back to the 190 days for staff, so from a budgetary standpoint, it doesn't look like that will have an impact significantly on the budget, so that's one worthwhile thing. And that completes our superintendent's information items, so now we can go to our action items.
We're on item number 8, superintendent action items. Are there any public comments? Anybody? No public comments? Okay. So we'll look now and hear the financial report for December of last year, 2017.
Okay, since we have some new board members, I'll give you a quick overview. I provide a write-up for you all on all of our funds, and you can see the supporting documents. They're presented in a high-level format. And the narrative, I'm normally comparing the prior month, which in this case would be November, with December. Because from a month-to-month standpoint, because our budgets and actual expenditures are 85% salary and benefits, and that is paid relatively equally over a 12-month period, we actually don't have a lot of change in expenditures from a month-to-month standpoint. So, but my write-up will capture any of those nuances that are occurring. So I encourage you to read through the whole narrative, and you're welcome to contact me, ask questions about anything, and we can go over that further. Also, when I do the presentation, I've been directed to speak on the general fund and then talk about East Bluff's revenue, and the rest of it, I'm not spending your time and the public time talking about it. So it's there in the narrative. But if you have questions about any of that, I'm happy to talk about it. So for the general fund, we received $7.3 million in property tax revenue in December, and we actually have sizable additional property tax revenues that we saw this first week of January when we came back from our shutdown. We also have additional revenues for tuition, after-school program, and our school nutrition indirect cost revenue. The December general fund expenditures were higher than November. However, certain categories were lower. So our instructional expenditures were lower for reductions in our substitute costs, because December we really only had, there's lagging in that payroll data, but we really had less days for substitute costs for the month of December. We also had workers' comp was lower, and that was because we paid workers' comp quarterly, and our quarterly payment was in December, or in November. So December, when you look at that line item, it's $0 because we made a quarterly payment in November. Our improvement of instruction was lower in the month of December, and that was for professional learning invoices paid in the previous month. General administration expenditures were lower when compared with November, and that is audit services. And we actually still have another audit service payment outstanding related to this recent audit of 2017. Central support expenditures were also lower, and that was for computer invoices paid in the month of November. Now, maintenance expenditures were higher than November, and these are in the category of water, sewer, cleaning services, grounds, furniture invoices paid in the month of December. And then when you look at our transportation line, that is showing 3 months. It's a contractual service, so that's showing 3 months of activity. So that bill can be lagging a few months. In East Bluffs, our sales tax revenue was $471,000, and that's 1.3% above monthly projections. We've got 1 month left to go, and I hope we get $544,360, and then we break even on the projection. Is there any questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. The incoming tax revenue, is that tracking historically where we've seen it over recent years as far as the percentages?
Like property tax
Yes.
revenue. So I don't have an answer for that tonight. Mostly because our December and January payment can fluctuate slightly, but the bulk of the bills are due in December, so I can look at it at how it compared to last year.
But you feel good that it's coming in?
Yes, because we basically got $10 million last week, and it really was December activity, but it was submitted to us as part of January.
Okay, so we've heard the financial report for December of 2017. Is there a motion to approve that report?
I make a motion to approve it.
We have a motion from Mr. Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Griffin. Is there any further discussion about the December financial report? So all those in favor of approving the financial report for December 2017, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion to approve the financial report passes unanimously. The next item from the superintendent's action item list is East Floss 5, the revenue bond.
And again, Ms. Perry been both working with on this resolution, so she's going to come and share some updated information.
So this resolution is really a parameters resolution. So we're really saying that it will not exceed $14.3 million, and that is including what we believe will be some of our costs of issuance. Really, there's some history about this. We approved the East Floss in March 2017. Our board approved authorizing the superintendent to finance some of those funds in our July meeting. Then the city approved our request for a revenue bond in September 2017, and now the building authority in December approved that request as well. So our next steps, just so you know, the Brookwood City Park project are the main drivers for this, and obviously technology is another component of it. So our next steps, Don and I will have a meeting with the city to establish our rating, and so that kind of is a financial piece that describes our credit worthiness, which we believe we will have a pretty good rating because we have very minimal debt. We do have $2 million on our books, but it's paid off this year, and then we'll start new debt. So that is our next step that doesn't involve you all. And then in January, at the end of the month, would be this special called meeting. And that's really when we will approve intergovernmental agreements, because that's how this debt item works, is the debt lies with the city building authority. So then there's an intergovernmental agreement between the building authority and the city, then an intergovernmental agreement between us and the city that says, we've got the revenue and we're gonna benefit from this debt. So that's how that piece works. We really will close on it around mid-February. So there's a timeline that doesn't really involve you all, it involves me, it involves Don, but these are the next pieces that we'll be working on.
It will, this timeline shows February 1st as being the all-parties meeting. That's the one that has been moved to January 31st.
Any questions?
This is the resolution that we would like the board to approve.
So the question is to approve the revenue bond resolution for an amount that will not exceed $14.3 million that will be paid back with the education or the East Boston Education Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax or East Boston 5. Is there a motion to approve?
I'm a motion. That's it.
Dr. Perez has made the motion and Mr. Johnson has seconded that. Are there any further discussion about the East Boston 5 revenue bond motion or parameters? So we would move to approve the revenue bond resolution for an amount not to exceed $14.3 million that will be paid back through East Boston 5. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda would have been the tax. Yes, that has been removed.
So we move the consent agenda. So items on the consent agenda are the approval of the minutes of previous board meetings. Those were a special meeting, a work session, and regular meetings from December 11, 2017. There's the personnel report for January 2018. And then we have two proposal bids and contracts, two items there. One is the Harmon Field home stand rails bid, and then the first student transportation contract. That is part of the consent agenda. So is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Mr. Johnson makes a motion to approve the consent. Is there a second? Mr. Griffin makes a second to approve the consent agenda. With a motion and a second, is there any discussion or questions about items on that agenda? Okay. So this is a motion to approve the consent agenda. Again, that's approval of the minutes, the approval of the personnel report for January of 2018, approval of the bid for the Harmon Field homestand rails, and for the first student transportation contract. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda passes unanimously. Now we move to general comments. Are there any comments from the public? There are no comments from the public. Okay, so now we have time or opportunity for any individual board members to make comments.
Just to keep praying for our DACA students that are again in our district. Probably thousands of students who are in the limbo, so we will keep praying for them to have positive results.
Just if anyone lives far enough away that they can't get home within 53 minutes, you need to move closer.
In conclusion, just let me say I again am grateful to be here and join the DPS team in this capacity, in this role. As I said Friday, I do believe the best is yet to come for our students, our city, and our district. So thank you for the opportunity. And then again, as we discussed in the work session, I think it's important work, especially as we move into the budget approval process, is the development of our strategic priorities, our strategic blueprint, or our strategic plan about where we envision our district moving ahead in the future. So look forward to participating with you in that and with our community in that. And with that, we will now stand adjourned. Thank you.